I'm Paul Green, and welcome to this DTube video here. It is Tuesday night, the 17th. It's Monday night, the 17th, and it's been a long day. This will probably go up sometime Wednesday. I wanted to wait until Friday, but I'll explain why I'm doing it a little bit early. When I done my introduction video, that was like my first video on YouTube, I had a request for some advice on your mindset during threatening situations. I believe was the words that were used. And a reply from a photo circle, which love photo circle. I probably wouldn't be here without them because they helped me out a lot in the beginning, and I'm still really new at this. As far as like this kind of a platform, I've made videos before in the past, but as far as like on this kind of a platform and certain rules and things like that, I still got a whole lot to learn. But it was about mindset in threatening situations, and so I want to answer that as honestly as I can. I'm sorry if it's distracting. It's like the camera's up here, but I'm seeing me lower than that, and so it's kind of throwing me off a little bit, so I don't know where to look. But I want to try to answer that as honestly as possible, because it's a really good question, but it's a really hard question, because it doesn't have a simple answer that you could spit out in 2 minutes. If it's going to be honest, it's not. There's an answer, but it has to have context. And I'm going to base this on my personal experience, that I've had, and there are studies and things like that to back it up. But I'm going to go with my personal experience and go with what I know, though it can vary from person to person. The best way to deal with this is preparation. I alluded to in my last video violence awareness and training. Violence awareness and avoidance training for everyone. That video, which was actually posted today, will give you the tools that are going to prepare you to have the right mindset. Because this is the reality of it. If somebody hits you with something out of, all right. Anyways, if somebody hits you with something out of left field, what tends to happen in violent situations is it tends to have a shock value. You're kind of stunned and disoriented. And often you shut down when those things happen. And people can do all the training in the world and that type of a thing, for fighting, but what they think they're going to do when something actually happens and what they're really going to do often are not the same thing. You can win all the tournaments in the world, but you get caught flat-footed, most people tend to shut down if they haven't mentally prepared for it. There's been situations, where I've been caught off guard, and I've had that happen. There's been situations where I've been prepared and looking for it, and I had clarity the entire time. The short answer for the mindset that you need to have is survival. Even in, combatives, we always say, you fight the way that you train. Well, your mental state is going to react the way that you've prepared it. And that's just the honest to God truth. When you are sitting down around the table with your family, like I suggested in the last video, don't just think about things, that would look weird in fringe areas and stuff like that. Think about what happens with those things. Follow those out in a sequence to their natural end. Prepare yourself that way so when you see it, and, God forbid you see it, I hope you never do, but if you do, you're not going to be surprised and you're not going to be caught off guard, and you have a better chance of being able to think in that type of a situation. And that's, as honest, as I can be. I'll give you a real life story that happened to me when I was 19 years old, and this was before I had any training. Well, I trained like in karate and some stuff and jujitsu off and on, but not any like real combatives training. It's apples and oranges. But my cousin and I, we were out at a bar in Huntsville, Alabama, and a bar that I really wasn't old enough to be in, but it was, and that's normal. I mean, unfortunately, the things that I did then are not the things that I would do now. There's a huge difference in maturity between 19 and 45, but the time I was 19, and that's what it was. So we were out at a bar, and back then, culturally, and even today, you have this whole thing where everybody, wants to go out and see how much they can drink and party and just see what all they can get away with. So, at 2 o'clock, we were still in it. We still wanted to go. We didn't want a night to be over. So we got told about this all night bar, which technically it wasn't a bar. They called it a club, but the little back end thing on it was you could be a member of the club if you just signed in at the door. And that way they could get around laws and call themselves a private club and stay open 24 hours a day. So everybody would tend to go there when all the other clubs closed at 2 a.m. So we get there, and we get there a little early because we want to beat the crowd because we know it's going to be a huge crowd there. And we're in the back playing pool, and we see these two guys getting a fight, and they throw one of them out. And we didn't think nothing about it because we see fights all the time, in that, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. So later on, we go up there, and we're sitting at the bar, and we've been drinking a while, and I mean, hours have passed, and we're still there. And the original guy that got thrown out comes in the door, and it's my back's to him, so I kind of turn, and I see him, and think anything about it. It's like, oh, hey, man, I just want to apologize to that guy, man. I know I'm not supposed to come in, but if you call him over here, I just want to shake his hand, man, tell him I'm sorry. Well, that's a big mistake. You don't do it. He can call him tomorrow or something. But anyway, so the doorman makes a mistake and calls the guy over, and he comes over there and reaches out to shake his hand. When he reaches out to shake his hand, the guy pulls a .38 long nose out of his waistband in the back, points at his head, boom, pulls the trigger, blows a piece of his ear off. The guy, moved his head, but the bullet caught his ear, and it blew this whole part completely detached from his head, and it went flying and landed on the floor between my cousin and myself. Well, this was really, really, really loud. I mean, I wasn't shot, but it was so loud behind my head, it hurt. I was disoriented. I stumbled off the stool and everything else. And I remember looking up, and people come running around the corner of the bar, somebody holding an ear, screaming, call the cops, and people started running outside. Some chairs were thrown, from the doorway. I remember the bartender jumped over the bar, and he ran outside, and he had a gun. Heard shots coming from outside. And then, something happened. After that initial burst of adrenaline, I started to get clarity. And I started to be able to think. And I seen my cousin for some reason, trying to run outside where the shooting was. And so I grabbed him and was kind of like holding him back. If I remember right, I think we actually fell at one point. And then we find out that nobody actually hit anybody, shooting out there, but a guy got pistol whipped. Apparently it was the bartender pistol whipped the guy. And so he comes back and he's standing at the door, and I'm thinking, okay, everything's, settled down. My cousin goes for the gun. The guy, I remember he had the gun in his left hand. He must have been left-handed. And my cousin goes for the gun, and he don't get it. So the bartender turns around freaked out, and he's pointing the gun, at my cousin. Without even thinking, I jump in between the gun and my cousin, when I start, talking to the bartender, hey, man, hey, of course, knowing what I know now, if he'd actually wanted to shoot him, he would have just done it. He was scared. He didn't really want to shoot, and it all worked out, but, it could have went the other way and been really, really bad. But I was like, hey man, we got to do this. This don't have to happen, man. Let's just chill. Don't nobody got to shoot nobody, man. We can all go home tonight. Um, and that type of a thing. He's like, man, that guy's an idiot, which I'm cleaning it up for the video. The language was far worse than this. But that guy's an idiot. I'm like, yeah, man, he's stupid. You're right, man. You're absolutely, man. He's a moron. I don't know, man, but look, man, you ain't got to do that. I mean, this ain't got to happen. And obviously it ended up working in our favor because he really didn't want to kill a guy. Because, like I said, if he wanted to, he would have, and that would just been it, and we'd both been dead. But, we got lucky. And ended up getting 2 free drinks, and the cops showed up, quarantined the place till 7 a.m., and we got stuck, and nobody ever found out I was there underage, which is great. But there's nothing like not getting shot in the face, really. But the thing is, I mean, that's a great story and everything, but preparation is everything. I can remember other situations where I trained for something, like doing security at a place, and something happened, and I didn't get that, I didn't get that shock. I wasn't disoriented, because I'd already thought it out in my head. I was prepared for it. And it made all the difference in the world. All the difference in the world. If you do get caught flat-footed and not paying attention, that's, kind of what attackers count on, because they want to jump you while you're stunned, get it and get out and be done, So in that little window there, that's where you need to be, training yourself for survival now. Take these situations, think about them, play them out in your head so that mentally you'll be ready. There's simple things you can do. You got eyes, ears, throat, hit them. It's what I do in women's self-defense classes. Instead of showing like 100 moves, no, we show the different positions you can end up in, and we give you targets. The groin's one of them, but a groin's not a good target. A groin's a good setup target. Now, if we're just like standing around, I had a buddy of mine that used to stand around and just say stupid stuff. And when he did, I'd thump him in the nuts and drop him. But if he was angry, it wouldn't have dropped him. There's chemical things that happen in the body during panic, that you can't get around. So the groin's a good setup target. You can hit it to make somebody lurch forward to hit something else, or to get them to let go of something maybe, but it's not going to take somebody out that's all adrenalized and pumped up and pissed off. It's not a great target. But anyway, that's a little bit off subject. But, think about things like that. It's the preparation. Think it out in your head. Do contingency plans. I'll give you another example. It didn't happen to me, but it happened to a friend of mine. And and he'd made contingency plans. He had some kids. I don't think they were like real little. I think they were preteen, but maybe like 10 or 11 years old, something like that. But he'd always had plans, with them. If we're ever in a place and something happens, ahead of time, they always set up a place where they would meet. If something, bad happened, that they would scatter and they would meet back up at their meet place. And that's something that you can do from the old video when you're talking about your who, what, how, where, when, and why. That type of thing. If something goes south, have a place to, to meet up. And, and then escape. Leave if you can. If you can evacuate yourself from the situation, that's going to be the best. But as far as mindset, it's just survival. If you can, train yourself to think about survival and just go to where it's, subconscious, and you can get past that initial second of shock, you can start to think clearly, and then, you may be able to do something better and more prolific, with it. But that's, generally where you're going to be. It's really more about preparation and thinking ahead of time. And, stopping yourself, from just getting caught off guard, and panicking. It's the worst, man. It's the worst. So that's what you want to do. One of the next things I'm going to do, it might not be the very next thing, but one of the next couple of videos, I'm also going to do something on verbal diffusion and de-escalation tactics. Because if you're in an argument with somebody, that's still a threatening situation, but that's a video all unto its own. The last video was 24 minutes, and I don't want to carry one too long. But if you're looking for an exact mindset, I would say survival is that mindset is in a violent situation. But please, preparation, 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 and that's the video that I posted today, the violence awareness and avoidance. And the thing is the hardest part. The reason a lot of this information isn't out there is because it's hard to get to people. The video that I posted a few days ago, that was my first DTube video, where it was basically just, "Hi, I'm Paul, and this is the stuff that I do." That had 87 views, or 87 upvotes. And that didn't teach anything in that video. But the video that actually teaches you skills that's going to protect you and protect your family, 24. You see the same thing. I've seen it in women's self-defense classes that I've taught in the past. You teach all this awareness and avoidance stuff to them before you teach the physical parts, where they get to attack a guy and all this other kind of stuff, and they're half asleep, and it's boring to them. They want to get to the fun stuff where they get to kick or punch somebody. But the thing is if they don't do the awareness and avoidance parts first, that kicking and punching ain't going to mean anything, when they get caught off guard and they crap their pants and don't do nothing. That information is so important, and it needs to be out there for everybody. But it's probably not the simple answer that you wanted, but it's a truthful answer. Preparation, 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 and then survival, and then escape. Or just escape if you can. So that's pretty much all that I have for right now. I'm going to, like I said, this is Monday night. I'm going to post it Wednesday. Hopefully, people will go back and they'll either reference, the awareness and avoidance video or the article, because that's a really good setup for this. Because if you understand that stuff, a lot of these threatening situations never happen in the first place. It depends. I mean, it could be a personal thing, and that's different. But hopefully that got you the information that you needed. And if not, ask a follow-up question in the replies, or if any of you other guys out there that are watching this, if there's something that you want to see, put it in the replies, under the video, and I'll do my best to get it to you. It's about 11 o'clock right now here, and so I'm going to try to get some sleep. And the rest of you have a great night. Thanks.